Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. We're just waiting for the lecturer to join us, so please give us a few minutes. Sorry, he was facing some technical difficulties, so he should be joining us shortly. Hello again. So the chair has some technical difficulties, and he's asked me to proceed so that we do not delay the webinar. So for now, I will be moderating the session on behalf of him. My name is Sonam. I'm from the UNFCCC Secretariat, and I would like to welcome you all on behalf of the LDC Expert Group to this webinar on monitoring, evaluation, and learning module of the updated technical guidelines. This is part of a broader webinar series aimed at helping countries understand and apply the updated NAP technical guidelines, which were launched earlier in August this year. The first webinar of the series provided an overview and an introduction to the updated guidelines. The second webinar that we had focused on financing and implementation, highlighting the shift from plans to implementation. And today's webinar will cover monitoring, evaluation, and learning, a critical element of the NAP process that will enable countries to track progress, assess results, and continuously improve adaptation planning and implementation. So if we go on to the agenda, the webinar's presentation and discussions will proceed according to the following agenda. Nokwanda, if you could move on to the next slide, please. We will provide a brief overview of the updated NAP technical guidelines, including their mandate and some key features, and on the 5 modules of the NAP process. We will then place a specific focus on Module D, which is on monitoring and evaluation and learning, and also present the indicative steps and activities that are featured in the NAP technical guidelines on MEL. Then we will go on to provide an overview of a tool that's been developed by the LEG, an updated version of the PEG M&E tool that will support countries in monitoring and assessing progress in the process to formulate and implement NAPs. Finally, we will have time for questions and answers during the presentation and a general discussion before concluding the webinar session. So without any further ado, let me now hand over the floor to our LEG member, Budi from Nepal, to give us an overview of the updated NAP technical guidelines. Over to you, Budi.
Thank you, Sonam. Good morning, everyone. I am Budi from LEG member from Nepal. So, as per the agenda after today's seminar, I will be briefly presenting on NAP technical guideline and then monitoring, evaluation, and learning module in detail, including some tools. As you all are aware that the NAP technical guideline, updated NAP technical guideline were prepared by LEG pursuant to paragraph 47 of the decision 2 CMA5 in response of parties' request for updated guidance to advance the formulation and implementation of NAP. So these guidelines build on years of country experience, technical feedback, and lessons learned from earlier NAP and implementation of adaptation projects and activities. These guidelines were developed through a rigorous exercise that included research, drawing from best practice from LDCs and broader stakeholders, expert review by different stakeholders, and inputs from parties. These guidelines were launched at NAP Expo 2025 in Zambia and are available on NAP Central. You can see the QR code here in the screen. What makes the updated guideline different is its forward-looking design. It integrates a stronger link between NAP and global goal on adaptation targets. Application of best practice, best available science, including insights from IPCC 6 assessment report, and many other key features are there in NAP technical guidelines. So next slide, please. So monitoring and evaluation is foundational. It enables tracking, accountability, and adaptive learning across the NAP process, which has evolved from our 4 elements of NAP technical guidelines developed in 2011 to the 5 modules of the updated NAP technical guideline. It supports operational alignments with GGA targets and the Sustainable Development Goals, shifting the focus from backward-looking audits to forward-looking transformation. The M&E system should be grounded in a structured plan or framework, in this case, the NAP cycle. Next slide, please. So the 5 NAP modules, module A, B, C, D, E, represents the complete adaptation cycle from understanding climate risks to implementing and tracking adaptation action. Together, these modules provide a structured pathway that connects analysis, planning, implementation, and learning. Within this structure, the conceptual framework applies the PEG results chain, linking inputs, outputs, outcome, and impacts across all modules. This alignment reinforces coherence with the GGA targets, thematic targets, and dimensional targets. Next slide, please. Here you can see the 5 modules and steps. The NAP serves as the primary national strategy and policy for adaptation, risk management, and climate resilience. It defines the vision, goal, and objectives for the country, and provides a national mandate to guide and coordinate all adaptation efforts across the whole of government process. The 5 modules and steps of the NAP process merge the initial 4 elements of the NAP process with the adaptation cycle components, creating a coherent structure that aligns with the GGA framework, reflecting the necessary actions to fully consider the formulation and implementation of NAP and cross-cutting activities such as building readiness, accessing funding, and technical support from relevant sources in maintaining the NAP process over time. Together, these 5 modules, it's shown in the slide, outline the key actions for NAP formulation and implementation, encompassing readiness, funding, and technical support. The modules are intended to be iterative and interconnected. Most of the indicated steps under each module can and should be addressed in parallel. While Module D on monitoring, evaluation, and learning and reporting may appear as just one of the 5 modules, it is important for countries to recognize that monitoring, evaluation, and learning is embedded throughout the entire NAP process rather than being a standalone component. It plays a central role at every stage of the process, providing an opportunity to take stock, to reflect on progress, to document experiences, and to inform continuous improvement of the NAP process. So can you go to next slide, please? When considering monitoring and evaluation, it is important to keep in mind the ultimate objective, the reason behind why these efforts are undertaken. For example, this slide highlights a few key reasons why adaptation matters and why NAP are essential, with a more comprehensive list provided in the guideline. Next slide, please. Based on the best practice content of the NAP updated guideline as presented in the guideline, we have listed here guidance provided on defining the vision, goal, and objectives. For instance, it presents a vision for a climate resilient future. For example, by 2030 or by 2035 and beyond, to establish a future baseline against which to measure progress. It also defines specific actionable objectives and targets that contribute to achieving the country's overall adaptation goals, listing clear and measurable national adaptation goals in the context of GGA to sharpen these targets and goals in order to make monitoring and evaluation effective and efficient. The M&E system at the national level should follow the vision, goal, and objectives of the NAP process. So next slide, please. The following is in this slide is a sample vision for a well-adapting country by 2030 or 35, offering a baseline against which progress in the NAP could be monitored. The full list is available in the NAP technical guideline, but I would like to read out a few here. The first one is political will and awareness of climate change is high, leading to a prioritization of adaptation in all aspects of development and planning process in relation to a national vision for development. This is demonstrated by climate change adaptation considerations being well integrated into all planning and development activities, and institutions are operating to support climate change. For a vision on effort to address climate change adaptation being well coordinated and aligned between different sectors, leading to a coherent and complementary approach to adaptation, would be measured by demonstrating effective coordination mechanisms that are in place with clear leadership of the national government. So you can go to next slide, please. So this is a brief overview of the NAP technical guidelines, highlighting the monitoring, evaluation, and learning. So if there is any important or pertinent questions here, we can take one or two questions. Otherwise, I can move on to the next module.
Thank you, Budi. We're just checking if there are any questions. I think we could proceed for now and probably have more questions at the end. So over to you, Budi, for the in-depth presentation on Module D.
Thank you, Sonam, for this. So can you go to next slide, please, Nokanda? Yes. So there is a module D is specifically on monitoring, evaluation, and learning and reporting. So this module provides some steps and indicative steps that countries can take on monitoring, evaluation, learning. Countries should develop or apply M&E systems to track progress in the NAP process. To support these systems, there should be systematic data collection, which should include protocols for data collection for monitoring key NAP GGA systems, which should be informed by metrics and indicators being developed for the GGA thematic targets. It is also recommended to monitor and document climatic events to improve understanding of impacts, vulnerabilities, and risks to inform further adaptation response. It is important to regularly identify areas where new or enhanced adaptation solutions can be applied to strengthen resilience and also address emerging risks through an adaptive learning system. Countries are encouraged to learn from experience, apply a learning by doing approach, and establish feedback mechanisms that help refine and improve the process over time. Efforts should be made to capture lessons learned in addressing adaptation challenges to inform and enhance subsequent planning and decision making. For learning and knowledge exchange, countries are encouraged to describe their plans for capturing lessons from the formulation and implementation of NAP and for applying those insights to improve future adaptation efforts. Establishing mechanism for reflection and continuous learning can further strengthen the NAP process. It is also recommended to outline how experiences and good practices from other countries, other regions will be integrated into national adaptation planning and implementation. So drawing on regional and global experiences can help identify innovative solutions, avoid repeating challenges, and enhance the overall effectiveness of adaptation actions. So next slide, please. We would now like to present you one of the monitoring and evaluation tool, which is developed by the league, which is a PEG M&E tool version 2. So next slide, please. List developed countries expert group league developed a technical paper titled Monitoring and Assessing Progress, Effectiveness, and Gaps under the Process to Formulate and Implement NAP Adaptation Plan in 2015. The PEG M&E tool. Building on this foundation, the league has developed PEG M&E 2.0, an updated version of the paper designed basically to assess progress in the process to formulate and implement NAP. The PEG M&E tool focuses specifically on monitoring and evaluation of NAP process itself. It serves as a management and learning instrument to guide the process toward successful outcome by identifying progress, highlighting gaps, and promoting the adoption of best practices in adaptation planning and implementation. So next slide, please. Having looked at the purpose and objectives of monitoring earlier, we can now look into the different categories of what is being measured. The metrics are input, process, output, outcome, and impacts. Inputs are tangible quantities put into process to achieve a goal, such as resources mobilized, strengthening of capacity, data, etc. Similarly, process is a course of action taken to achieve a goal, and some examples in the NAP context include stakeholder engagement process, interministerial coordination mechanism, and policy integration, etc. The third one matrix is output, which are tangible products and deliverables emerging from adaptation efforts. Examples includes output metrics, for example, the number of assessment reports, NAP produced, and investment frameworks, etc. Similarly, in outcome, the outcome are results that stem from use of the outputs. They are medium-term results reflecting improved adaptive capacity, reduced vulnerability, or enhanced system readiness. Examples of outcome matrices are adoption of climate-resilient agricultural practices, improved early warning systems, or strengthened institutional coordinations. Similarly, on impacts, these impact metrics are long-term changes contributing to enhanced resilience and achievement of the GGA. Examples of impact metrics include the improved well-being and livelihood, enhanced ecosystem resilience, and so on and so forth. So you can go to next slide, please. Yes, the PEG M&E version 2 is built on 6 core design principles. The first one is systemic alignment. All metrics are structured around the 5 NAP modules to ensure comprehensive coverage of the entire adaptation cycle. The second core principle is country-driven and ownership. Each country applies the framework according to each country's context, priorities, and institutional structures consistent with the guiding principles of adaptation. The third principle is future-oriented measurement. Progress is assessed relative to a future baseline defined by the GGA thematic and dimensional targets, emphasizing long-term trajectories rather than static comparisons. Another important principle is iterative learning. The M&E process directly informs decision-making and replanning, transforming the NAP process into a dynamic, continuous learning system. Similarly, the next principle is transparency and accountability. Information on progress, effectiveness, and support is made visible at both national and global level. The final principle is scalability and interoperability. The framework is digital ready, designed for integration with data platforms, dashboards, and AI-enabled analytics to support ongoing synthesis and learning. So these are the core design principles while developing PEG M&E version 2. So next slide, please. The 6 overarching areas of inquiry and guiding questions, structuring the assessment of progress, effectiveness, and gaps are listed here. The first one is provision of financial and technical support. Next is access to financial support. Next one is science, knowledge, and methodologies. Next is achieving the essential functions of NAP process, addressing the guiding principles of the NAP process, and the 6th one is achieving the twin objectives of NAP process and targets of UAE resilience framework. Next slide, please. This PEG-MNE tool uses a scoring system. The use of a scoring system offers a practical balance between quantitative assessments such as statistical data, qualitative information such as expert judgment. While this system has inherent limitations, it provides a valuable basis for iterative assessment and continuous improvement over time. The PEG-MNE tool is a framework, not a strict list of metrics to measure. Therefore, the focus should not be on the metrics themselves. Rather, the monitoring and evaluation process should help the country to understand its position and progress across the different areas of the NAP process. Next slide, please. We will also share a workout example from a case study based on PEG tool. For the overarching questions like how adequate and effective has the financial support provided for adaptation through NAP been meeting the needs of the country, the assessment showed a score of 4 for overall progress, indicating that funding was adequate to cover most activities related to NAP process. The country also scored 4 for provision of funding for NAP formulation, reflecting that sufficient resources to complete that phase, formulation phase. However, for NAP implementation, the score is 1, indicating that funding was available only for a limited number of projects or pilot activities. So like this, we can, this is an example based on the PEG-MNE tool. So next slide, please. This slide presents the results from the case study just discussed earlier, showing a score of 4 for process, 4 for formulation, and you can see 1 for implementation of NAP in relation to the provision of financial support. So next slide, please. Yes, another overarching guiding question focuses on how countries are addressing the guiding principles of NAP process. This is the result from one of the case studies where the country indicates that while progress has been made, further efforts are needed to strengthen the use of the best available science and the integration of gender considerations throughout the NAP formulation and implementation process, as they score themselves 1 in both areas. The country is able to monitor the areas they need to improve on over time while using this tool. So next slide, please. So if there are any immediate pertinent questions or additions, we can take a few. Otherwise, we can move to the next part of the presentation. So Sonam.
Thank you, Budi. Just to note that we finally have Chair joining us, so I will like to hand over the moderation to Mr. Adao, the Chair of the LEG. Adao, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Sonam. Colleagues, good evening, good afternoon, and good morning from Timor-Leste. I am Adam Suarez Barbosa. Of course, I'm from Timor-Leste. I'm the chair of the LEG. And my apology for coming late because technology was quite difficult to go through, but I am here now. So once again, thank you very much for your participation in this very important webinar. And thanks to Mr. Budi, one of the LEG members from Nepal, for your excellent presentation. Again, if colleagues, you have any quick question or comments toward the presentation that's done by Budi, and then I could open the floor. I do see none. So once again, thank you very much, Budi, for that presentation. We shall now move to the next segment of our webinar, which is the last set of slides or presentation that we could go through. This will be on monitoring progress on NAPS. So let me again invite Mr. Budi to lead us through the slides. Budi, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I will continue my presentation. So next slide, please. Yes. So at the global level, the COPE has conducted 2 assessments on the progress in the NAP process, one in 2015 and one in 2018. The current mandate also includes completing the assessment of progress in the process to formulate and implement NAPs, which was initiated in 2024. So this assessment basically focuses on progress towards the achievement of the objectives of the NAP process. Similarly, it also focuses on experiences, best practices, and lessons learned. The gaps and needs identified countries, and this assessment also focuses on support provided and received to advance the formulation and implementation of NAP. So next slide, please. So monitoring and evaluation and learning of the NAP process is focused on monitoring and evaluating the process of formulating and implementing NAPs. It is designed to help manage the process, guide it towards successful outcome, and also promote the use of best practices. Mail of adaptation projects, program, and policies. This type of monitoring and evaluation is typically carried out by funding or implementing entities to demonstrate accountability for the use of fund and to assess value for money. Similarly, the third mail process at the national level is the M&E of adaptation outcome and impacts. This broader level of M&E includes research and systematic observation to assess climate impacts, the state of systems, and the extent to which they have become more climate resilient or adaptive. So can you go to next slide, please? There are other initiatives and tools also. This includes a toolkit for monitoring, evaluation, and learning for NAP process. It is developed by the Adaptation Committee and the NAP Global Network. It guides countries in designing and implementing mail systems. And the second initiative or tool is monitoring and evaluation of projects, adaptation projects, conducted by funding and implementing entities such as the Adaptation Fund, Global Environment Facility, and Green Climate Fund to basically track project level performance and accountability. Similarly, ongoing work under the GGA, development of indicators to assess adaptation outcomes and impacts at the national and global levels. So next slide, please. Maybe I have finished my presentation, so I can stop here for any comments or questions or some additions from colleagues and friends. So Adao, back to you.
Thank you very much once again, Mr. Budi, for the comprehensive overview on this critical issue. So colleagues, we will now open the floor for your questions and reflections toward the presentation made by Budi. Please feel free to raise your hands or use the chat to ask about any aspect of the webinar or the presentations that we have today. While we proceed with the discussions, we have prepared a question on Metimeter, and we would love to hear from your insightful input into that. So please log in and respond using the details displayed. I think that will be really good from your screen. So colleagues, once again, the floor is yours. I do see none. So it means everything that was presented by Mr. Budi is quite acceptable, and it is well understood by all colleagues around this table. And thank you very much, colleagues, once again for engaging this, I think, or participating this very important webinar. And we look forward to see the reflection from your side throughout Metimeter. I think that will be really good. And we also look forward to continuing these conversations in the upcoming webinars that will be communicated to you, I think, by the Secretariat. So more sessions will be following in this series. So please stay tuned and keep an eye out of future announcements that will be done by the Secretariat. So another gentle reminder that you are now able to access and download the applicable guidelines by scanning the QR code in front of you. So before I conclude our discussion, may I invite the Secretariat to announce some logistical issues. Sonam?
Thank you, Chair. I suppose at this point, we don't have any announcements as such. As you were saying, we will inform participants of any upcoming webinars for this series as and when they're planned by the LEG. So yeah, basically just thanking everybody who joined, and that the presentation slides that we just made by Budi will be available on the web page. I think Kwanda's already shared the link to the web page, so we'll put the slides on the web page. So nothing from my side, Chair.
Thank you very much, Sonam, for that points, and it is well noted. I hope that it will be also quite valuable for all participants to see the presentation online, and that will be really good. And colleagues, without any ado, let me conclude this meeting by thanking you all once again for joining this meeting, and we very much look forward to collaborate with you closely in the future. And then once again, all the best for your sites, for your work, wherever and whenever you are now. And once again, all the best, and see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Budi. Thank you, everyone.
you.